What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of The Cutting Room. My name's Nick, and welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about everything indie horror. The good ones, the bad ones, and the ones that don't get nearly enough credit. I've been making independent films for over 10 years now, and I'm here to give you an honest review. I'm not going to call these masterpieces just because I feel like it, and I'm not going to crap on them because of the poor production value. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to give you honest reviews about things I've watched, and hopefully you'll find new, things you like, new things you haven't seen before, new things that Hollywood, frankly, doesn't have the balls to make. So let's get into it. The first thing we have, this one I found in a Facebook chat room, or Facebook group, I should say, and it is called da, 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 VCR Willie. I know. I get it. The name's a little weird, but that's what it's called. I didn't name it. Don't shoot the messenger. But I found this guy who was trying to, sell his movies and distribute things a little bit differently. So I thought I'd, contribute to, you know, indie horror, indie film, and buy one of his things. And so he has, this is VCR Willie 1, Rewind, Replay, Regret, an anthology horror film. The camera only exists in Alex's dreams until he found it on his kitchen table. Now it will exist in. Now it only exists to record his nightmares. I can't read. Here's the trailer, the physical media, the whole thing, and he has 3 different ways to buy his anthology, I guess. DVD, VCR, and USB. Or flash drive, I should say. I chose to go with USB because I thought it looked the creepiest. You get a little USB in the mail, you don't know what to do with it. It looks odd. So yeah, there we go. So I bought it, and apparently I was I was his the first person to buy anything from him. So he sent me a little note. Thank you for your support. You were my first customer ever. Thanks for the belief and the support. This is version 1 of VCR Willie, and expect this series project to go for years. Alex. Thanks, buddy. So, yeah, this is I want to say it's like an 88-minute horror anthology of a bunch of these vignettes that you see. It's all shot on, like, I would say, like, a DV tape cam or whatever. It has that grainy feel to it. But I will say this: when I was playing on the files through my player, I could see the quality. Some of them were HD, some of them were 4K. So I think he's like put on a filter or something for it or whatever. But that's here nor there. I'm not gonna judge that. You want things to look a certain way. You wanted an aesthetic. I get it, and I'm a sucker for found footage stuff. I really enjoy those things, especially if they're indie, because then you don't know what you're gonna get, you don't know what's gonna happen, you don't know how it's gonna be, and so I was excited to jump into this, and so we get into the first segment that was on this drive called Scrubs. So we're walking in this parking lot, we're seeing this kind of like grated door, and you don't know if you see a face there or not, and all of a sudden the woman says, "Hello, is it you, Alex?" Whatever. Alex is our POV. He's the video, he's the video camera guy. So that's you'll keep hearing the name refer to the camera guy as Alex, because that's who the person is. And so he talks to her, and she's like, did you get paid or whatever? I need you to come and video my husband and see what's happening. So you go in this dark apartment number 40. Behind or underneath some stairs at the bottom level of this very kind of sketchy apartment complex. So you go in, and this woman is kind of like you get into the apartment. She locks the door, which is whatever, here nor there. She offers you some water. You get into the interior of this place, and you see that there are no lights on, and the only thing lighting this room, this entire area, is the light of your camera. The little camera, the light's on, I guess, mounted somehow on top of the camera. It's the only thing lighting the entire thing. So you get a little backstory of, this woman. She married her husband. They met at the hospital, and he has sleep problems. He sleepwalks or whatever and stuff. So we might hear him around, but she wanted to just document what's happening because she's unsure because things have been changing. So, what is it? So you eventually run into the husband kind of abruptly. You see him in the corner of the screen, and then he runs off into the back. And you don't see him again. She's talking to you about what's happening with him and what's going on. Alex tries searching for him, and he's all over the place and is trying to attack him sometimes and this and that. And something happens to the wife as well. Her demeanor changes too. It goes really strange. She ends up just kind of sitting in the tub, and she has some sort of demonic voice that tells you to leave. Alex leaves, and we cut the first segment. It's kind of jarring. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on in this apartment or what's happening. And then we get to the second one. The file name on this one is Trowel. And the first thing you see is a shot through a piece of glass or a window or something, and you just see these shovels or trowels or whatever through it. It's kind of focusing in and out, and you don't know what's going on. That's kind of you see throughout this whole segment. And so Alex once again is called the same apartment, goes inside. It's dark, it's pitch black. He talks to this lady again who lives in the same place, and talking about what's going on, the things she sees. She eventually goes back to sit in the back room bed, on there with her husband. Tells Alex to go, find this Bible that's on the bench there. Goes and looks at it, thumbs through it, gives it back to them, and she says, "Hey, there's something under the bed," or whatever. He takes the camera under there, goes back up, gets a jump scare, runs around the apartment. Eventually, there's some demonic things that happen, and he leaves, and the thing shuts off. So we're there again, and that seems to be the premise of we're in the same apartment. It seems to be haunted. We're not sure. There may be something possessing it or possessing the people in there. I have no idea what's going on, if these people are real or if they're ghosts or what the deal is. Nothing. We have no idea what's happening, really. So we get to the third one, which is my favorite. It's called Mimic. And once again, Alex is in the same apartment. He gets called over by this wife. First thing you hear is what sounds like the audio of a phone call. The wife calling him, telling him to come by to document what's happening with her husband because he's freaking out and something's happened and she doesn't know how to deal with it. So you meet her apartment, inside, dark. The husband is freaking out. He's walking back and forth in and out of the bedroom and into the living room area. You keep hearing knocking on glass, and you keep hearing this male voice talking and saying the wife's name. You open the blinds, you look outside, this guy with this beard just smiling big and just really ominous and kind of very uncanny valley. And then you go back and you meet the husband, and he kind of looks the same, it's just he doesn't have a beard. So it's a little disconcerting. And she tells you that, he went on this camping trip, shouldn't have gone, and he brought something back with him. And it's the skinwalker kind of creature is what she says, but it's not really, it's not really believed, or it's not, there's not much more than that. So at some point, the back door gets opened and Alex runs out, and, the thing ends. And then we get to part 4, which is Knack. This one happens during the day. You meet Jared, who wants you to. I guess once again he's hired Alex, to video what's happening, and he's I guess the new owner of his apartment or something, and he wants you to get all these shots and come inside, and as soon as people get inside the apartment, it seems like everything kind of goes awry. Even with Jared First thing he does is, like, he gets to the sink and he fills up this small pot with water and just drinks from that. It's just a little odd. He starts talking about, not being able to sleep, and sometimes he's not the only one living in the apartment. And at some point, you hear a young woman like call from across from the bedroom again, in the apartment, and he's surprised, he's shocked. She's searching for him, calling his name. They hide in the guest room, and she she's comes at him in a threatening way. Once again, we get this demonic voice effect from her. She's not. Once again, we don't know if she's a ghost, if she's a demon, if what she is. So we don't know anything about this apartment. I assume at this point that it's a lot of people have died here and it's possessed by something. So that's kind of my idea. Jared wants you to video him falling asleep and seeing what happens. And he goes nuts. Like, as things progress, he gets more and more unhinged. He hides in the apartment. You don't know what's happening. His demeanor changes as the night goes on. Alex gets freaked out and runs away and leaves. The segment ends. Also there's a point in this one where Jared pulls out the Bible again and starts going through it and reading from it, and so we get kind of a religious connotation with this segment like we did with the previous one. So I think we're dealing with a demonic possession in this apartment that's killing these people or something along those lines. The next one, part 5, is called Salt. And we open up with just a long shot of what looks like Alex, in the trees, looking down the road of this car. This man's pulling a woman out of the car into what looks like a church. She won't let him do it and gets back in the car. You see shots of him chasing her throughout a park at night, and her hiding in the woods and stuff, and you don't know what's happening and things like that. And eventually you end up at the same apartment. The husband opens up the door, lets Alex in, is happy that he's there so he can document his wife and stuff. It's dark, only light is the camera. Start talking about, the church they're involved in. It's a different church. He's trying to tell Alex it's not a cult, but they're worshiping something different that isn't God or isn't Jesus. And he thought it was wrong because he was brought up a certain way, and you're only supposed to worship Jesus from what the husband says. You hear the wife once again in the back bedroom, moving around and stuff and saying things. And right before the husband moves back there, he goes back to the kitchen and gets this plastic thing of coffee, goes into the hallway and makes a very thick line of salt like in Supernatural. It's very obvious. It's 3 inches wide. It's a very big line of salt. So he goes back there to talk to his wife, and she's having some sort of demonic episode, and does the demonic voice effect again, and is talking to him. Eventually she calms down and gets out of it, and they're having a moment, and he tells Alex to shut the camera off, and turns it back on, and he's like, oh, I don't want people to see our tender moments, whatever. I don't care, whatever, it's fine. There's a point where he's reading the Bible, I guess, to kind of exorcise the demons out of his wife, and he's going through it, and she just turns her head and looks at the camera and starts smiling at it. And it's very this unblinking look in her face. It's very scary, and it's very ominous. And at some point she threatens to attack him and attacks him, and she can't, obviously she can't leave because of the salt, so Alex just bolts it and leaves. So yeah, we're getting a lot of religious stuff and things like that. And then the last segment of this is probably the shortest segment. It's called North Bridge Mall. It's where Alex is, I guess, in a parking deck in the rain at night, and he sees this hooded figure who's whistling at him a couple of times, and he doesn't know where it is. He's trying to get back to his car and stuff, and it's coming up the stairs and following him, and he's just trying to see what's going on. He's not it's very unsettling. He doesn't know what's happening, and he does a thing where he looks away and looks back, and the thing's gone. He thinks it's just an illusion or whatever. So he runs to his car, he gets in, he puts everything in there, and I love this stuff with like indie found footage stuff. You like the camera kind of swoops in the back seat and you see the guy there, and you hear the whistle, and then like the camera shuts off, and that's it. We're back at like the apartment with the camera on the table, and that's the whole end of it. So my final thoughts: the good. Let's go over the good. The good. The production value is great. Everything is, I understand, you're trying to do the found footage thing. You're, the one light you had in a lot of the stuff worked. It lit up the entire area, what you wanted to see very well. It had a very spooky effect in some shots and things, especially when you were like looking through trees or looking through grating. You didn't know if you were looking at a human face or a figure. And when the thing moved, you knew what you saw again, and like I thought that was kind of jarring and spooky. I enjoyed that. Once again, the audio is really good. Usually, when you get found footage movies, independent found footage movies with audio, it sounds like it was shot on an iPhone 8 on a hockey stick. It's terrible. You had a lot of like demonic voice effects that sounded very good in this, like almost like like a Hollywood movie. Very well done. Couldn't tell the difference. I mean, just and also like some of the atmospheric stuff in the last one. I think the mall one was great. With you heard the rain in the background. You were spooked out by this person, this figure following him and stuff. So it was very, very spooky. And I didn't know what was happening, so I did like that aspect of it. I really enjoyed that. Now the things I didn't enjoy, I didn't really care for too much. The audio is great, but there's no like atmospheric audio. Like when Alex is outside, you can't really hear the trees, the streets, those things. You can't really hear that. But that's just me. Like I'm a sound person. Like that's how I love that kind of aspect of in these movies. But it didn't feel like you can't. For me, it brought me out of it. It brought me out of that of the believability of it. But once again, I understand like independent film can only do so much. You don't want to like blow out the sound and have like people hunking down the street and things like that. If you're in a busy metropolitan area, it doesn't work out. So that's fine. Also, some of the movements were weird, like with the camera sometimes. It being dark inside the apartment every time was very strange. That was odd. But I guess since you're dealing with somebody's nightmares, it's kind of the dream that he's having. I guess that's, what it is. But no lights being on, no nothing. No candles, no TV. I mean, every now and again, I think we got some TV stuff, like, TV was on here and there, but, it was only momentary. It was, things like that. Like, being in the apartment over and over again. Also, the biggest thing, there's no connective tissue between any of the segments. There's no, like vlog style thing saying, hey, this happened, this is me, this is what's going on. Like, nothing like that. So this almost feels like it's up to interpretation to, what's going on. I would have liked something to tell me what's actually happening. Or some backstory, like, with this apartment. If people died here, did something happen here? Was there an exorcism here that like caused this apartment to like be, I guess, possessed or something? Like anything would have been nice to kind of have some sort of backstory to what's going on. With a lot of the independent stuff, some people go a little bit like too artsy and too that to the way of like interpret it your own way. It's like that's fine, but personally, please tell me what's going on so I can kind of understand what's happening, because these just feel like a series of vignettes that you keep making short films in the same apartment because that's the only location you have, which once again is fine. but it's not really, it's not really my thing. I would have liked, different locations, more people involved besides just Alex. Maybe he had like another camera person, another person next to him that was helping out with another camera or something. Anything like that would have been great. Once again, any sort of story elements like backstory, whatever, would have been nice, but we didn't get that. Um, and just some of the things were like a little off the wall, especially like when there's the religious one with the woman just kind of going through the trees and stuff like that. We wasted a little bit of time with that, her being too crazy, her being possessed or whatever. Yeah, I get it, it's fine. um yeah, it's okay. But let's see, let me get my ranking system up here now. All right, let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Now, I rank things S to F. Now, at the top is Roger Corman because he's the godfather of independent film to me. That man's done a lot of stuff. Underneath him, we have John Carpenter, who started out indie and then made a lot of absolute classics, a lot of things we love today, a lot of cult movies that everybody watches. And underneath him is Charles Band. Because he kept the horror scene alive through the 80s and 90s. He had a bunch of really smaller budget science fiction horror stuff. And then underneath and then underneath him is Lloyd Kaufman, who's in the middle because he's a pure indie spirit. He's more about shock and chaos than quality, which is fine. I mean, if that's what you're into. And then below him we have Jim Wynorski, because he's all about the cheap thrills and the topless scenes and and things like that. Doesn't That's kind of his style. And then at the bottom we go Rob Zombie, who's I think the worst filmmaker ever. And so I think for this one I'm going to rank this Lloyd Kaufman because, well, no, actually, sorry, I'm going to rank this. I'm gonna stay with Lloyd Kaufman. Stay with Lloyd Kaufman because this had a lot of shock and thrills. Not a lot of connective tissue, like I said, between the segments, and it just wasn't enough story for me. It just felt like there was a lot of spectacle and no substance. But once again, like, that's just my opinion. Alex has this YouTube channel, which I'll be linking in the bottom of this video. He has 200 and I think 30,000 subscribers and a bunch of short films that he's done. I think they're mainly horror. Very talented. Hope he makes a feature like movie in the future. Done a great job. If you've come through this episode this far, thanks. Please give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, give me a subscribe. That'd be great. I'm gonna try to churn these out every Tuesday around noon, and it'll be a different one every time. And I'm gonna try to do as many as I can, as often as I can, and keep this going because I really, really love indie horror. There's a lot of good things there, and I really want to expose you guys to a lot of fun stuff. And hopefully, like I said in the beginning, you'll find things you'll like, you'll find new favorites, and if I can ever put links in the videos of like where to buy the movies and where to buy things from the filmmakers, I'll put those in there as well, so you can help them out, because that's one thing these independent filmmakers need is money. And if they can get paid a little bit for for their movie, that would be great. But until next time, see ya.